I'd like to welcome everyone this morning, this afternoon. Thank you so much for being here. Come on up here. We're going to open with prayer. Had a gentleman that was going to be here, and he had some difficulties, and he couldn't make it, so we waited on him for a little bit, and now we are moving on. So thank you very much for being here. God bless you all. Max Bunton from Newton is going to start us off with prayer. Before I pray, I'd like to read a little bit of scripture, if I could. Jeremiah 29:11 through 14, it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. Then you will call upon me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. I will be found by you, declares the Lord." Also in James chapter 5, verse 16, it says, "When a believing person prays, great things happen." Do you believe that? Then I'd like for you to pray with me right now. We're going to call upon the Almighty to anoint this gathering today, to put Him first and foremost, and bless this gathering today, this afternoon. Father in heaven, I want to thank you for this day. Thank you for this opportunity down here in the third half of the state, that we are trying to make a noise for the rest of the state to show other people that maybe don't call upon your name. Where we have so many contestants, candidates, Father, that follow your ways. And Lord, I know that at this point, we're just asking you to intervene, to help us as voters to seek out the best candidate that will follow in your ways, God, not to follow in their own shadow, but to be following in your shadow, Father. I thank you, God, that you've given such an opportunity of so many candidates that seek your face out on a daily basis. And Father, I just ask you to bless every one of them as they're in their attempts, that they put you first and foremost. Keep them healthy, Father, through all this campaigning, this long hours of being away from their families. God, protect them in the mileage of driving about all over the state of Illinois and the sicknesses that they confront. Father, protect them. Be with them right now, God. May we hear you speak in them today. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you very much. Right now we're going to have Jacob Holt come out here and lead us in the national anthem. Then we'll have the pledge. Jacob is from Casey. He and his wife are finishing up at Greenville, and as soon as they get done there, they are heading to Nashville, Tennessee. So he's going to share an awesome song that he wrote kind of here in our halftime intermission. So let's all stand for the national anthem, please.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much for everybody for being here. Who is excited to be here today? We really appreciate you guys. This is what this movement is all about. Good people coming out to support good candidates that are going to push real reform in Springfield. And we are really excited and we're really blessed to have our good friend, fellow patriot, fellow conservative, Annie Fry here to do our Masters of Ceremonies. Annie is, she's a talk radio personality on 97.1, which is Fox Radio in St. Louis, and she has been so good to our movement. She hosted this event last year, did a great job. She gives us a voice to where we can get our issues out there, and we appreciate that. And Annie and I think she said last time, we have something in common. We are millennials who are both conservatives, which is kind of an oddity in our nation here, but we need more of that, and we need more young people to get involved in our movement. Yeah, she's a mother of 3, and her and her husband, who is here also, were both raised in Madison County, Illinois. Her husband's a public school teacher in St. Clair County, and she is passionate in her dedication to restoring Illinois to its hard-working taxpayers. And Illinois is her home, and she believes it's worth fighting for, and I think that we all agree with that, so let's give a big, warm, God's country welcome to Miss Annie Fry.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to be here, and I think it's very encouraging to be able to look around this room and see all sorts of people, all sorts of walks of life that call Illinois home. And I'll tell you, I work in St. Louis, Missouri. Half of the people I talk to are in a very red Trump state, and the other half are in a very red southern part of a state that just happens to go blue most of the time because of the northeast corner. We have so much in common across the river with the folks in Missouri, folks in St. Louis, the suburbs there, and the fine people of southern Illinois, middle Illinois, northern Illinois. There's just something about the stronghold that has their grips around Springfield right now that doesn't reflect me, doesn't reflect the way I was raised, and doesn't reflect the way I want to raise my kids. I get asked all the time, Annie, why don't you just move 20 minutes west of St. Louis, commute downtown St. Louis that way, save a bunch of money in taxes? And I keep saying, you make a good point. But Illinois is home, and when you see me cross the Mississippi River for the last time and not head east back home, then I think there's nothing left worth fighting for. But I see all generations here today. I see people who may be considering voting Republican in the state of Illinois for the first time because you're sick and tired of your hard-earned tax dollars being used to fund things that you don't support and not feeling like you have a single ounce of representation in Springfield to give you a voice. So, thank you. The reason why I make the hour and 30-minute drive into God's country, which I like, I'm Southern Illinois. I was raised on a farm with barns and stuff, so I speak your language. The reason why I come this far east is because these representatives that are going to be talking to you today actually are giving you a voice in Springfield that is a consolidated voice. They understand each other, but they understand you. And they are working hard to give Illinois a future. Because right now, the way it's headed, there's not a future. The way we are looking at heading down this tax and spend, pass a progressive tax. Oh no, it's a fair tax. This is the direction we're headed unless you all continue to push and support a voice like you're going to hear from each of these representatives that are going to speak today. And people who want to take up the mantle with them and join them in this fight. I know what it's like to feel voiceless. I'm a female. I'm a suburban mother. I live in the state of Illinois. I'm a gun owner, I'm a conceal and carry holder, I'm a Trump supporter, and I'm a Republican from the state of Illinois, and I need to see more people feel okay to be those things and say, why don't you just leave? Because a lot of people in Illinois, they're just leaving. They're just gone. And when they leave, when they pack their U-Haul, they leave the tax burden, the pension crisis, they leave it in whatever county they left, and they don't even have to turn around and look at it in the rearview mirror on the way out. But for now, this is home, and we're going to fight for it. And so are these individuals who are going to talk to you today. You're going to have an opportunity to ask questions and get some answers, and also spend some time with people who are like-minded, who want to see Illinois stay home. So thank you so much for coming today. It's a pleasure for me to be here. Enough about that. I want to introduce to you a frequent guest on my radio show. Most of these folks are regular guests on my radio show, because we do need to make this voice louder and more consistent. Blaine Wilhauer. He represents the 107th District. He proudly served in the Army National Guard as an intelligence analyst. We could use some more intelligence in Springfield. He's a managing partner at Longhorn Buildings, LLC. That part was not in the bio, just in case those were my words. He's a managing partner at Longhorn Buildings, LLC. He and his wife, Amber, have 3 sons. A fellow millennial, Blaine Wilhauer.
I was just up here. Yeah, thank you, Annie. Thank you for that introduction, and thank you for being here again today. Who's ready to send a message to Springfield today? That's what we're here for. We need to send these folks a message that we are sick and tired of them continuing to raise our taxes time after time after time to prop up a government system that they've created that is completely and totally unsustainable. We need real solutions in Springfield, and that's a huge frustration for us. And it wasn't real surprising that nobody was pushing real issues in Springfield, but I can tell you, being on the inside, it is even worse than it looks from the outside. But the people in Illinois, the voters in Illinois, you guys deserve a vision. You deserve hope for the future, and you're not getting that. You're not getting it from the Republicans, and you're not getting it from the Democrats for sure. So that is something that we are really passionate about doing. What do things look like if they actually gave us power? How are you going to get people in a state that's naturally inclined to vote for Democrats, which the state of Illinois is? I mean, I don't think that we're San Francisco, but if you look at some of the policies that we put through there last year, you could make a pretty good argument for that. But this is the heartland. We believe in common sense. I don't think that we're that far. I just think that we do a bad job of laying out a vision. So that's something that we're going to be doing more of moving forward. How about a taxpayer bill of rights? Anybody here would you like for Illinois to have a taxpayer bill of rights? Because I think the taxpayers are very much abused in the state of Illinois. We need a taxpayer bill of rights that puts a 1% property tax cap on the state of Illinois. You want to bring in jobs, you want to bring in industry, you want young people to stay here, we need to give them a reason to do that. What's the biggest thing in Springfield that keeps good things from happening? It's the influence peddling, the money changing hands. We need strong anti-corruption measures put in place in Springfield. We need to do it today. We need to restore credibility to our system of government. These are just some things that we're going to be doing, but what we really need is we need strong, reform-minded candidates that are not afraid to go up to Springfield and stand toe-to-toe with these special interests on behalf of middle-class taxpayers. And we're really, really, really thrilled to have here today 2 great candidates in Southern Illinois that's going to come up there and join us and help us. Adam Niemerg, not Donald got it a little bit wrong, but Adam Niemerg in the 109th. Support this guy. He needs a lot of help. We need to send these establishment folks a message that we are tired of them coming down here, bringing their money down here to try to influence people in Southern Illinois to put people up there that are going to maintain the status quo. So send Adam Niemerg and Paul Jacobs to Springfield with us. I appreciate it. Thank you for being here. I think my time is probably up. But look forward to answering questions for you here today. So thank you very much.
The next gentleman I'd like to invite to the stage is Illinois State Representative Brad Halbrook, representing the 102nd District. Brad's probably best known for being the architect of the New Illinois movement, which is seeking to form a new Illinois separate of the city of Chicago. He and his wife, Illinois support out there. He and his wife claim to have 2 children. State Representative Brad Halbrook.
Thank you, Annie, and thanks to every one of you that have come out today to this awesome event. It's great to be back at the Effingham Performance Center for a second time, again for a great event that we will affectionately call the Taxpayer Revolt Rally. So last year I stood here before each and every one of you and asked you if you thought it would be a great idea to separate from the city of Chicago. Yeah, so the question is, how many of you think it'd still be a great idea to separate from Chicago? Well, your message last year was loud and clear and continues to be loud and clear, but the Chicago politicians failed to listen. Just about 10 days ago, Governor Pritzker in his budget speech spoke about the separation movement, and he said that this movement will not solve the economic challenges of the state of Illinois. He quoted, or his quote was saying that we should stop pretending that one part of the state can exist without the other. Well, maybe Governor Pritzker and his team should stop pretending that more spending, more borrowing, and more taxing will get us out of this economic nightmare. Governor Pritzker and Speaker Madigan have committed to making the state of Illinois the most progressive state in the nation. They want to remake Illinois into their image of this socialist and elitist idea that they have. They passed legislation this last spring that will allow abortion on demand up to the moment of birth. And under their watch, they've doubled our gas tax along with 20 other fees and taxes that they've increased. The corrupt Chicago politicians are bent on forcing their policies and values on us. So the question this year is, how are we going to respond? Will you be pushed around by the socialist bullies and the billionaires from Chicago? And I hope not. We must organize ourselves and do the hard work of convening county committees to structure a new Illinois. I'm asking each and every one of you to join me in this effort to create a new Illinois. Please come up to me after the event's over and talk. Find folks out at our table out in the hallway, or you can find us at bradhalbrook.com. We must not give up control of our state to the Chicago politicians who have become intoxicated with power. We must support reform-minded legislators and candidates that are here with us today to help us to create a new and a better Illinois. We must stop the Chicago politicians from changing the Constitution into this progressive tax amendment that's on the ballot in November that will give the corrupt politicians even more and more power. Over the last 12 months, I've traveled all over the state, speaking to hundreds and thousands of people just like you guys here today about this effort of creating a new state. A new Illinois that is not the most corrupt state in the nation. A new Illinois that doesn't thumb its nose at our way of life. A new Illinois with real solutions to real problems that does not rely on drugs and gambling to get themselves out of this mess that we've created. So in conclusion, the U.S. Constitution, Article 4, Section 4, guarantees us a Republican form of government. We are a constitutional republic. Under Article 4, Section 4, the power is held by the people. The leaders are to serve our interests, not serve just a politically few and elitist connected. So that's our future, that's our task. I hope you will join with me in this effort. We must fight back, we must push back, we must engage against these socialist policies that are coming our way. So in conclusion, let's build a wall around Cook County and get Chicago to pay for it. Let's make families great again, let's make Illinois great again. God bless you, God bless Illinois, and God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you. It's great to hear a forward-thinking message for the state of Illinois that has the attention of the governor. He keeps whining about it. And if, I think when you think back to middle school and people were complaining about stuff about you, it's because they cared. So there must be something about this new Illinois movement. I would love to fix the state with Chicago. But if they're not going to fix it with Chicago, then what else are we going to do? And the governor, it's got the governor's attention. So that's great to see. The next guest up here on the stage, State Representative Dan Calkins. He is representing the 101st District. He's more than 2 decades of military experience, retiring as a U.S. Army Major. He's worked for Decatur Manufacturing, Giant ADM, and several local companies, as well as running his own business focused on providing long-term care and assisted living for disabled adults. He and his wife, Jo, have been married for 44 years.
Thank you very much. I talked to my wife this morning, and I told her, she asked me, what are you wearing? She's always concerned how I look. And I told her, and she said, you needed to add some color. So I did. She said, that's really not enough. You need more red. So here we are, on the cusp of a great primary, March 17th, and we expect great things, and we look forward to your help in electing proven conservatives, people that'll come to Springfield and stand up with us. Of course, we want to send Mary to Washington to stand up with our president and work with conservatives in D.C. to make our country what it should be. I wanted to talk just a little bit today because this is the taxpayers' revolt, more or less. And I wanted to just throw a couple of things out, and I'm sure we'll get a chance to answer your questions later. But I want to explain just a couple of things about one of the biggest drivers of what's taking this state down, and that's our pensions. From 1990 to 1997, about 4% of the state's income went to pay for our public sector's pensions. Now, it's about 25%. 25 cents out of every dollar goes into the pension funds, and that is a minimal payment. That's like paying the interest and $10 on your credit card when you owe $10,000. It's a drop in the bucket. Now, Governor Pritzker, during his budget address, promised to increase pension funding if we pass his progressive income tax amendment. That amendment will bring in over $3 billion if they're accurate in their projections. Governor Pritzker says he'll add another $200 million. $200 million out of $3.5 billion. It is absolutely, I think that explains exactly why you shouldn't vote for that amendment. This year, 39% of our funding for education, money that we send to our schools for teachers, for classrooms, for facilities, 39%, 39 cents out of every dollar goes to fund pensions. That's huge. That is a huge take. And it explains a lot why our teachers aren't being paid better, why our schools aren't in better repair, why our kids aren't getting a better education. We need to do something about that. The other thing, we here in Springfield, Illinois, has a $137 billion pension debt. That's huge. That's amazing. Moody's Investor says that's not true. They say it's $241 billion is what our pension obligation is today. And it grows every year because we are not paying the bill. We can't. We can't do it. We have increased our pension payments by about 500% over the last 10 years. We have decreased our spending on the most disadvantaged citizens of this state 32% over that same period. So that's the illustration. That's what's wrong with this state. And until we get our arms around this pension plan crisis, until we open up the pension clause, we pass a constitutional amendment that allows us to go in and renegotiate this COLA, 3% annual pay increase. until we can go in and work and save the pension funds for the average working person who pays into that pension fund, we're going to drown in that debt. Well, I look forward to hearing from you later in the event. I appreciate all of you coming out, and let's get together, let's work together, let's turn out on March 17th, and let's send conservatives, principled conservatives, to Springfield.
All right, next representative to speak is Darren Bailey. State Representative Darren Bailey represents the 109th District. He's currently running for the State Senate in the 55th District. Darren spent his entire life farming in Clay and surrounding counties, growing corn, soybeans, and wheat, which according to presidential candidate Mike Bloomberg, all you gotta do is dig a hole and put a seed in it. That easy? Just like fixing Springfield. Dig a hole and dig deeper. Let's see here. He's also involved in trucking and excavating. Darren and his wife Cindy reside in rural Louisville and have 4 children and 8 grandchildren. Darren Bailey.
You guys are awesome. Many of you helped get me here. You were behind it, you were fed up, and you proved it, and you showed up. So I want to thank you very much, and I'm asking you to do that again. You know, so we've been up there for 1 year now. And, you know, down here, Springfield and Chicago, I like to think we're a bunch of redneck hicks, but we do catch on quick and we learn, and we've learned the process. Yeah, I was told, actually, one of my my opponent made the comment that it took him 2 years to figure out where the bathrooms were. So that's not happening with us. We're figuring the game out. And thank you. I want to make sure that you understand that as we push back, friends, we're gaining respect up there. I've got, on a weekly basis, people on the other side of the aisle, people all the way on the other side of the aisle, are calling me, having conversations about some bills and issues. So, you know, God's showing His grace. He's opened this door. I don't get it, don't really understand it. It amazes me. But we are being asked our opinion and our input, and it's a lot more than just how much will we give. So here's what this is all about. As I ran 2 years ago, as you supported me, as I was outspent over 3-1, and during that process, Republican coffers, they're dried up, they're gone. Republicans from Springfield right now today have maybe around $2 million. You can look a lot of this stuff up on Illinois Sunshine and all the other websites. Whereas Mike Madigan and his people are setting on over $15 million, and you know as well as I do, that's going to grow rapidly. So the lack of common sense ideals, the lack of common sense business, the lack of morals has gotten us where we are at today. We are not here in these problems because of what we have pushed back against over the last year. We are here because of what has taken place in Illinois in over 20 years. And unfortunately, people like me, maybe we probably fell asleep. The church settled off. The church, we pat our people on the back and tell them, send them to Springfield. We send them to Washington, and we tell them to go get them, and then we just assume all well, and then we wake up and realize what a mess we're in. That's exactly what happened to me 2 years ago, July 4th weekend on 2017. So we go up there. Our main goal right now is holding our own leadership responsible. Because I'm here to tell you, Mike Madigan and the Democrats, they're obviously our ultimate problem. But our own people, our own leadership, they are our immediate problem. And we have got to hold them accountable. And that is exactly what we're doing. So with your guys' thank you. But it's going to take your support. It's going to take your... You have the ideas for the bills. You're the one that when you see us out on the streets, you need to engage us. You know, the encouragement is awesome. But your ideas, the life problems that you're having in life, that's what, you know, we need to hear this stuff. We need to understand this. You know, I know we do, but we've got to constantly hear this. That's where the good bills, that's where the good ideas, they come from. They come from you. So friends, here we are. I have an establishment primary. The person running in my office, there's a true conservative and there's an establishment. Many of you know that I endorsed Corey Musgrave right out of the gate. I knew him very well because of some family issues and other things. He decided that he had to step back. During that process, both of the other candidates running right now, they called me and let me know. I considered myself friends with both of them. They called me and asked me if I was going to get involved in theirs, if I was going to campaign against them. I said, well, no. I've endorsed Corey. My endorsement stands. But and then the next question was, well, are you going to campaign against me? I said, not unless you give me a reason to. So, friends, I'm here to tell you that over the last 2 months that we've been out and about hitting, maybe month, 30 days, hitting these Lincoln Day dinners, listening to the candidates speak, out of my opponent's mouth and out of the establishment pick to take my place, I've heard the word compromise and I've heard the word reach across the aisle far more than I care. And I'm going to tell you something. Compromise for a Republican means 3 things. It means more abortion, it means more taxes, and it means more gun regulation. We're done with that. So, I'm coming out today. I'm coming out with an endorsement. I can sit here and tell you right now as we speak, almost $70,000 from Springfield have been sent to support the establishment candidate. All of this, while we have 12 conservative districts throughout the state that are currently being held by Democrat. We have 42 districts in Chicago that have not had a conservative voice, not even a challenge in over 15 years. But yet, the establishment wants to send money to Southeast Illinois, the 109th district, the most conservative voting district in the state, to try to get a yes person. We shut them down once, and I need your help to shut them down again. And I believe that's going to happen. Now, before I make this next introduction, I've got one other introduction. There's an awesome man here. His name's David Paul Blumenshine, right over here. Wave at him so they can see. He's got one of my blue hats on. Is there anyone from the 105th district up around Bloomington and Normal? Is there anyone out here? Just sidekick. Anybody else? Well, if there is, you need to meet up with him because he's another reformer. So we got, and I look forward to. He's an awesome Christian man, and he ran the last time, come up a little bit short, and he's pushing back again. Springfield needs reformers. And I give you my word that we're going to hold your values, we're going to hold your morals, we're going to hold what you care for. That's what we're going to hold dear in Springfield, and that's what we're going to fight for. So thank you so much for being here. It is my honor to introduce to you Adam Niemerg. Adam is a country insurance agent, so the Farm Bureau affiliate. He's did that for the last 13 years. He's married to his wife Trina. They have 2 daughters. He attends St. Isidora Catholic Church. So I'm going to tell you, the mud's going to start flying next week for the next 2 weeks. It's going to get pretty disgusting. And I want you to know that all of us have met with him and his wife. We've prayed with he and his wife. We know the skeletons in the closet. We know what possibly the opposition is going to throw, because none of that matters. What matters is here and today. And I endorse Adam Niemerg to take my place.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank all of you. And we're going to get it done, folks. We're going to reform Illinois. We're going to drain the Illinois swamp, just like Trump's doing it out in D.C. We're going to get it done. These gentlemen, these conservative individuals have put their faith in me, and I'm going to ask you to continue to put your faith in them, because they know what it's like. They know what we're up against in Springfield. And they know the reforms that we need to enact. So ladies and gentlemen, let's give them a round of applause. There's a couple pieces of information you need to know. Illinois, we're in bad shape. And when Darren talked about compromise and reaching across the aisle, and my opponent talking about compromise and reaching across the aisle, we hear that all too often out of our own party. We hear, we need to sit down at the table. We hear, we need to have that discussion. And we hear, we need to compromise. Where has that gotten us? Nowhere.
Yeah.
Nowhere.
Nowhere.
HB 40, the abortion bill. Browner signed that. He signed it.
abortion. 20-cent gas tax increase? 20 Republicans voted for it. Our own party caucused us for that tax increase. That's right, out with rhinos. You know why? So Metro East Democrats could say, hey, we didn't vote for it. We didn't vote for that gas tax increase. Republicans bailed us out so we wouldn't have to. It stops. Status quo is over, it's done.
Yeah.
It's time for real reformers, and we need real, reformed, principled, conservative Republicans to get the job done. Because it's not just about saying no. We're not obstructionists. We have a plan. We're going to take Illinois back. We're going to flip this state red. There are 2.1 million point card holders in this state. That's over half of the people, the population that voted in the last governor's race. If we got out, our conservative Second Amendment values, if we got out, we can flip this state red. We can get it back, folks, and we can. Illinois has the worst credit rating in all 50 states. Illinois has the highest combination of state and local taxes in the country. In the country, folks. Exactly. We have got to turn that around. We have the second highest property taxes in the nation, and we have the third worst funded pension system in the nation. But yet, we have got Republicans running in primaries that are talking about compromise. The last 20 years, that's where it's gotten us, folks. Nowhere. We can get the job done. We can reform Illinois. We can, and we will. We'll drain the swamp just as Trump's doing it in D.C. We'll do that here. So spread the word. Spread the word. Up to Springfield, we're going to get things done. We're going to get like-minded individuals such as everybody in this room this afternoon. Get out and vote. Tell your friends. Tell your family. Get up to Northern Illinois. Talk to good, principled, conservative Republicans in Northern Illinois and say, stop being quiet. Get up. Voice your concerns. Voice your opinions. Flip your districts. There's a lot of good conservatives up there. Now, Chicago's on its own. I'm all for building that wall. Right? I'm all for building that wall around Chicago. But there are good, principled, conservative Republicans in Northern Illinois, and we need to get them energized just as we are in Southern Illinois. So on March 17th, remember reform. Spread the word reform. And watch out for those code words, folks. Watch out for compromise. Watch out for reach across the aisle. Watch out for sitting at a table and listen to the other side. Because those are code words. And when you hear that, you know you're talking to a rhino. Principled, conservative, Republican values work every day of the week and twice on Sunday. We'll get the job done. God bless each and every one of you for being here this afternoon. Thank you very much.
You know, when you're in a super minority in the House and you're in a super minority in the Senate and J.B. Pritzker's got a governor's mansion with toilets in it, you get kind of tired of losing, you know? It's really disgusting to lose as the Republican that can win in the state of Illinois. I'd rather lose as the Republican than I truly am with my morals intact. Yeah. Standing for something. And it's really, really good to hear. If, you know, the compromise that we've been asked to make before, just like Adam was talking about right now, yeah, we've compromised ourselves, all right. We're in a very, very significant state of compromise, and it's going nowhere fast. We need to change something and stand up for who we are and stop listening to anybody else in the state who says this is what you got to do to win. Because I'm not willing to do what I have to do to win because I want to win right. This is a taxpayer, so when you hear people having this message, as much as it's great to hear any of these individuals up here saying the things that we need to hear, you have to do what you can do to support them. Because you're the voice at your kitchen table or at work or when you're talking to people at church, you're the people who are going to make other individuals consider the alternative and not give up hope. That's why you're here. So it's imperative. If you hear something you like, do something that helps somebody else hear something they might like. So keep this momentum moving when you leave today and spread the message because Illinois is not lost unless we let it be lost. We can't do that. I want to introduce our next guest, John Cabello. He represents the 68th District. He's the Illinois co-chair for the Donald Trump campaign. He is currently on the roster of the Rockford Police Department. John serves and has served on the board of 2 national Republican organizations, Future Majority Project, current board member, and GOPAC, board member since 2013, John Cabello.
Good afternoon, Effingham. What a great crowd we have here tonight. Now, I could go into talking about how horrible it is in Springfield, but I think you already know that by just looking at your taxes every day and paying that nice new 20-cent gallon gas tax. And remember, it's going up every single year after. They tied it into the rate of inflation, and it should be going up about a penny every year. Now, I'm looking forward to the questions that you folks have, so I want to talk more about Trump stuff. Is that all right with you? Yeah, are you okay having Donald J. Trump as our president? I can't hear you. Are you okay with the policies that he's putting in place to protect you, to make sure that America is first, to make sure that America is safe? Are you willing to stand again with Donald Trump? Do you want Donald Trump here in Effingham? Then I need your help. Here's what I want. I want everybody to stand up, and I want you to repeat what I say, because I want to send this message to the president himself in a video. So I need your help. The first thing we're going to say is Illinois loves President Trump. Can we do that? We need to do it loud and proud. On the count of 3, we're going to do it over and over. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Illinois loves President Trump. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3. Illinois loves President Trump. Love it. Love it. Now, we're going to do this just a few times. All it's going to be is the president's last name over and over. So it's going to go Trump, 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 Trump. Now, while I'm here, I do want to make a couple endorsements. As the 2016 co-chair for Trump, somebody that's going to stand by his side, somebody that's going to sit there and help him drain the swamp, somebody that's going to make sure that we keep America first, somebody that's going to make sure that we keep America safe, somebody that is going to stand by his side and fight these fights with him. Proudly, ladies and gentlemen, our next Congresswoman, Mary Miller.
For coming out on this beautiful spring day today. I appreciate you. I'd like to introduce myself. My name's Mary Miller. I'm running for Congress to be a voice for the people of the 15th District. I've lived in Coles County for 43 years, and together with my husband, we've run our family grain and cattle farm. I've got a degree in business and another one in elementary education. I've also been involved in education and many community and church activities. We have 7 children and we're expecting our 17th grandchild. Friends, I believe we've seen an attempted coup on our nation. What they're doing to our president and our God-given amendment rights is outrageous. And I'm mad. I want our children and our grandchildren to recognize the country that we grew up in. I want them to have access to the same opportunities that we've all had to pursue the American dream. I want to go to Washington and support President Trump. I appreciate him. He loves our country. He's authentic. He's trying to fulfill his campaign promises. And people, I would rather have authentic and a little rough around the edges than a big fake like Romney. I'm tired of that. I appreciate that he's humble enough to say that he changed his mind about abortion, and he is the most pro-life president we've ever had. He asks important questions like, why have we been letting manufacturing leave our country, and why are we allowing ourselves to be taken advantage of in trade agreements? He's a fighter, and he's what we need at this time. People, the proof is in the pudding. I'm running on how I've lived the last 40 years and how I've raised my children. In the last election, 5 of my children were old enough to vote, and they and their spouses all voted for our president. This next election, I have another voter, and we have a voter wannabe. I look forward to going to Washington and supporting the America First agenda, including finishing the wall and securing our borders. We need to know who's coming in and why. We need to revise our immigration system. It needs to be based on merit. Immigration has added so much to our country. We have a son-in-law that's an amazing man. He came here legally. Today he's an orthopedic trauma surgeon, and he's the father of 6 of our grandchildren. I appreciate immigration, but it needs to be legal. Also, I'm going to stand for our God-given Second Amendment rights and fight against radical socialism. Since I announced my candidacy, I've received overwhelming support. People, I'm an ordinary person that's stepping into an extraordinary opportunity. As I travel the district, I'm continuing to gain support, raise money, and earn endorsements. The greatest endorsement I could get would be your vote on March 17th. But in addition, I've been endorsed by the Illinois Farm Bureau activators. There's 8 state representatives in this district, and 7 of the 8 have endorsed me. I've been endorsed by gubernatorial candidate Jeannie Ives, Senator Ted Cruz, Jim Jordan, Mark Meadows, Congresswoman Lee Stefanik, and most recently, Leader McCarthy. And in addition, our very own founder of Gun County Sanctuary Sanctuary, Dave Campbell has endorsed me also. When I go, I'm going to represent the values and the priorities of this district. I believe I'm going to stand before God for this opportunity, and I want all those that come behind me and my fellow representatives to find us faithful. Thank you.
You know, it's always interesting to me when I'm asked as a woman, Mary might be able to relate to this, like, how can you support President Trump? I'm like, which party here is telling women how to vote? Like, isn't that feminism? Shouldn't I be able to use my own head and my own brain and my own circumstances to support whoever I want to support? As a mom, as a wife, as a full-time employed person contributing to the taxes that we pay in the household, don't you think that my brain is worth me making my own decisions? It's great to see women standing up and using their own thoughts and experiences and perspectives to be able to further this Republican conservative movement that we have that is, on the national scale, really taking some strides and making some progress. And we need to bring that right back here to the state of Illinois and continue to speak out in that same manner. The next guest up here on the stage, Illinois State Representative Chris Miller, represents the 110th District. He's the third-generation farmer, knows a little bit about digging a hole and putting in a seed as well. Raises Angus cattle. I do not know what Mike Bloomberg thinks about that. That might be a little more difficult than the seed growing. When he's not in Springfield, he's working on his farm and helping his wife Mary in her run for Congress. Chris Miller.
Well, there's one thing that Mary and I recognize is we recognize bullshit when we see it. I guess some of you guys might like to know that. You know, one thing that these guys are finding out in Springfield about us down here in Southern Illinois is just because we talk a little bit slow and have a little bit of an accent doesn't mean we're stupid. You know, as I was thinking about a lot of the bad things that have happened, you know, it's a lot like the gospel. You have to hear the bad news before you can hear the good news. You know, and when you think about all of the radical things that, you know, my colleagues have mentioned, we've passed the most radical abortion bill, we've raised taxes 21 different ways. And one thing I want to tell you about that, because I think this is really important, because what is wrong with Springfield is wrong with our leadership. It's important to know, when they came in to increase your taxes, our leader came into our caucus and he said, quote unquote, Mike Madigan says that we need 20 of you guys to vote for these tax increases so we can go back to J.B. Pritzker and he can go out and tell the public this is a bipartisan agreement to raise your taxes. Yeah, that's right. And I'm not making this up, you know, because when I posted the vote on social media, I lost my communication staffer, all my emails got shut down, you know, every way that I had to communicate with y'all got taken away from me by our Republican leadership. And it says right in our Republican Party platform that we don't raise taxes because we know they're counterproductive to families and they hurt businesses. But I think it's important for you guys to know that. Our biggest problem in Springfield is not the Democrat, it's the Republicans. You know, so when you think about it, we need to cultivate a culture of winning. You know, it's one of the things that President Trump said, that you are going to get so tired of winning here in America. And one of the things that we're experiencing across our land because of Trump's policies is everybody striving, but guess who's not? The state of Illinois. Even in the state of Illinois, we had closed all of our committees, and we got an infusion of $1.5 billion with a B because of the Trump tax cuts. And guess what the Democrat leadership did in our state? Is they opened up every committee and they spent every cotton-picking dime of the surplus that we had to further tyrannize the taxpayers here in the state. Some other things that we have seen is the radical gun bills, and the list goes on and on and on. Unfunded mandates to make life harder for our school systems has happened. You know, and you know, I don't know if y'all know this, but the Democrats in our state even passed the bill to outlaw elephants in the circus, any circus that comes to the state of Illinois. You know, what is a circus without an elephant? You know, and I tell people that there's a reason why their mascot's a jackass. When you think about winning, you think about W, you think about I, you think about N. And what that always stands for, to me as an old coach, after you win or lose, you always got to be thinking about what's important now. What's important right now for us is we need to wake up. We need to stand up and we need to speak up, because the radical left is running roughshod and destroying the state of Illinois, and their plan is to destroy America. And we need to make sure that that doesn't happen. We're in a cultural and we're in a spiritual battle for the future of our country and the future of our children's country and grandchildren's country. Every day our faith and our family and our freedoms are under attack, and we need to make sure that our voice is heard loud and clear, that it's not going to happen under our watch. One of the things that we need to do is we need to develop the attitude is that we're going to compete every day, and that we're going to make Illinois first, that we're going to make the citizens of Illinois first, and we're going to be first in fiscal responsibility. We're going to be first in real estate value. We're going to be first in job creation, and we're going to be first in education. You know, the good news about all this is that every problem that we see here in the state of Illinois has been self-inflicted. So one thing that we know is if man created these problems, then we all together can fix it, but we have got to send reform-minded legislators to Springfield and reform-minded legislators to Washington, D.C. And that's where you come in. You've got to be energized. You have to get out and vote. You got to get your family members. And everybody here has a sphere of influence. You need to get those people ginned up to go vote and to turn Illinois red, and together that we can do that. Now, I want to leave you with three thoughts. You know, there's always, there's a 24/7 news cycle, and it's all bad news. And one thing that we need to keep is our perspective. And we can be thankful every day for three things. And that's the first thing that we can be thankful for is the Lord is on the throne. And He sees the end from the beginning. It says in the old hymn, it says, wrongs will be ended when Jesus is King. And I believe that. The second thing that we can be thankful for every day is that crooked Hillary is not our president. And the third thing that we can be thankful for is that we have a great American patriot in the White House, a man that loves our country, a man that wants to keep and make America first. And that man is Donald J. Trump. And on March the 17th and in November, we need to make sure he gets reelected. Thank you, and God bless you.
Now I'd like to introduce to you Justice John Barberis. He's running for Illinois Supreme Court in the 5th District. He's a lifelong resident of Madison County and currently serves on the 5th Appellate Court. Justice Barberis and his wife Laura live on a farm outside the village of St. Jacob with their 3 children.
Telling them as I walked up that is a hard act to follow. Wow, you guys are fantastic. Mary, you're right, it is blinding, so there may be one person out there, there may be several hundred. It looks like there's more than one. One thing that struck me when I walked in was that besides the fact that you are here, I'm here, and these folks are here, you can tell that we're not at a Democratic event because we have that here. So first of all, thank you for allowing me to be here. My name is John Barberis. I'm from Madison County. For any of you that know anything about Madison County is a Democratic stronghold. Back in 2014, I was asked to run for the circuit judge position there, and I ran. There hadn't been a judge there in a long time that was a Republican. I won a race. I was outspent, I believe it was 30-1. 150,000 to 5,000. I won that race against a very good gentleman, a very well-respected jurist from Madison County, 54 to 46%. Became the second Republican in over 100 years to win in Madison County. Thank you. 2016 came along and I was asked if I would consider running for the 5th District Appellate Court. Fifth District Appellate Court had never been comprised of a Republican majority. I decided to run. There were 2 spots available. A gentleman from Southern Illinois, Randy Moore, James Randall Moore. He also ran for the 2 spots. He and I won. Our win in 16 turned the 5th District Appellate Court for the first time into a Republican-controlled run. That race got very expensive for Randy and I because at the end of that race, about where we are right now in the primary, well, in that race, we didn't have primary, but at the end of the race towards November, the Democrats, the asbestos bar in Madison County and throughout the country, and the plaintiffs bar from those areas, they threw in a ton of money. I got outspent $1.5 million to $30,000. I won 56 to 44% on that race. So why am I telling you about races in the past? Because I'm in the first primary that I've had. I'm against a friend of mine, a good gentleman. His name is David Overstreet. Politicians and political advisors always tell you, don't mention your opponent's name. Well, he's on the ballot. You're going to see it. His name is David Overstreet. He and I are running for this spot, the Supreme Court position for the 5th District. He's a good guy. If you come away from tonight or whenever you decide you wanted to support me, if you support me and I lose on March 17th, I'm not going to, mind you, but if it happened, do the same thing I'm going to do. Support David Overstreet 100%. The reason being is we have to keep this seat on the Supreme Court Republican held. All right? Now, a couple things about me that you might want to know. First of all, go to my Facebook page, all right? It's got more information than I can give you in a couple minutes. I never scrubbed. I was told when I got into this race, hey, you need to go on and scrub your Facebook page all the way back to when you started. And I said, why? I said, because there might be something on there you're ashamed of or you're embarrassed about or it might hurt you. I looked at it and I said, well, I don't need to do that because I don't live my life that way. I don't put things out there that are bad. I don't put things out there that I would be embarrassed about. If you live your life the right way, you don't have to look back and wonder. So I didn't do that. So if there is something there you don't like, let me know. I might have missed it. I don't know. But the other thing you want to know about me, I'm married 30 years to my wife. We started dating back in high school. We've got 3 wonderful children, a 23-year-old and 18-year-old twin boy and girl. I just posted or went live with, whatever the technical term is, for my website. And my website name means something to me, and I'm not going to give it away, but I just want you all to tell me if you know what it means. The name of my website is Justice Barberis 1911. I wasn't born then. For you gun guys, you know. For you non-gun guys, 1911 is just one of my favorite handguns, all right? So, I am a gun guy, all right? Second Amendment is strong in my heart. I go around, I say that. I say, hey, you know, my oath as a judge is to defend and protect the Constitution of Illinois and the U.S. Second Amendment is part of those. I don't feel I'm giving anything away by saying that I support the Second Amendment. Recently, the Chicago Tribune endorsed my opponent in this primary because they said I give too much away on how I would rule on things. So what that means to me is they're suggesting that they'll only support someone who has no interests, who has no passions, who has nothing that they feel strongly about. I feel strongly about the Second Amendment. I feel strongly about pro-life. All right? That doesn't mean that I am predisposed if a case on those issues came to me on how I would act. Being a professional, being a judge, is to be able to take your personal beliefs, set those aside, and rule on the case how the Constitution requires, how the laws require, and how the facts are applied to that. I'm capable of doing that despite what Chicago Tribune might think. All right. Besides that, anything that comes out of Chicago for my opponent and against me, that kind of makes me feel good. I need your help. If you get behind me, I promise I will always be behind you. I need your help on March 17th. I am not the establishment guy. Much like all these folks up here, I don't play well with others. All right? I especially don't like to be told what to do or how to do it. I can think for myself. Thank you very much. I intend to be your voice, not a political party's voice, not a political interest group's voice, and certainly not anyone else's voice besides the voters, all right? Besides my own. You have to believe in me, and I will do the right thing. March 17th, please get out there and vote. Vote for me, vote for all of these guys. Mary Miller, I've gotten to know her since we started this campaign, and she is fantastic. And I can't think of a better person that I would have to replace John Shimkus than Mary Miller. So, thank you all very much.
Anybody in here concerned about their Second Amendment rights in the state of Illinois? I keep hearing stories, being a host of a radio show. People call me and they tell me their stories, and some of them are just unbelievable. And, you know, I don't think that the Second Amendment is there so that we can shoot a deer for dinner. I don't think that's what the Second Amendment is for. And anybody who's going to tell you, I think in a recent presidential debate, we don't want to pass any legislation that's going to hurt Uncle Dick in the deer stand. I don't think that if you're sitting in a deer stand, you're holding that rifle. That's the only gun you probably have. And you can own guns in this country because it's the Second Amendment. It's the one that enforces the First Amendment. So it's good to hear a lot of strong Second Amendment support here. Let's get another person up here who is advocating for your Second Amendment rights. Richard Pearson, Illinois State Rifle Association representative, is going to speak to you now.
It's great to see all you people here, and I'm going to tell you something you already know. Your Second Amendment rights are under constant attack in Illinois and across the nation. But Illinois is the hotbed of Second Amendment attacks. Right now, we are monitoring 257 gun bills in the state legislature. It takes me and 4 other people to do that. You say, why should we have lobbyists to protect the right that's guaranteed to us by the Constitution? The reason is there's some people who don't believe that. We had the negotiations on a bill. And so I was in the negotiations in the first meeting. A couple of my friends were there. And we said, no, we won't compromise. And so they did the right thing. They threw us out. You know. But that's the way it works up there. It is very, very tough to fight for the Second Amendment rights because we don't have enough Second Amendment state representatives and senators to guarantee those rights. Everybody behind me is a Second Amendment supporter. We need every one of them there, okay? So we have to have that stuff. A few years ago, there was a voter turnout. The voter turnout was 41%. So I was curious as how many people who were gun owners turned out. It turned out that when we surveyed those gun owners, 41% of them turned out also. You can't guarantee your Second Amendment with a 41% turnout. Everybody has to turn out. From the president to these folks on the stage, everybody, every gun owner has to turn out. They have to hear it, make their voice heard, they have to be insistent on it, and they have to work to get it. Just going to vote is important. But if you can put out signs for these folks, if you can help them in any other way, donations, it all goes together guarantee that these people will be there and represent all your rights, including the Second Amendment. So it's very important you do that. We'll keep you, I'll be around out in the lobby there for a while, so please come by and see us. But it's very, very important to turn out to the Second Amendment, and everybody has to vote, everybody. And you have to get your friends to vote. And the people say, well, I don't feel good today. You have to make them go vote. You have to do that, or you're going to lose it all. Thank you.
All right, before I introduce Jake back onto the stage to sing a really amazing song, we are going to have some buckets that are going to be passed around right now. If you feel like you have something that you can contribute to helping these candidates get elected, the funds raised today will go to the Restore Illinois PAC to help elect conservative candidates. So please consider making a donation if you are able to. Checks can be made to Restore Illinois PAC as well if you'd like to drop that in there. I was so impressed by Jake's rendition of the national anthem before, so we get to hear from him again. Very excited about this, to sing his original song, I Believe in America. If you like it, check it out on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. Jake Holt.
Before I sing this song, this is something that I do at every show. I'd like to honor a special group of people. That's our United States veterans. If there's any veterans out there or servicemen, would you please stand up? Let's give them a hand, everybody. And thank you so much. We put this song out, we made a video for it, and we made it a veterans tribute. And it just tells it like it is. This is called I Believe in America. I believe in we the people. I believe in God we trust. I believe we gotta stand and fight what is fair and just. I believe in patriotism. I believe we gotta pray. I believe that we are blessed to live in the good old USA. In America, defending our rights to be free. Oh, I believe in America, sweet land of liberty. When our soldiers go to war, take our flag of freedom where it's never gone before. And I believe in celebrating, striking up the band, rolling out the carpet for the veterans of this land. And I believe in America, defending America, defending our rights to be free. Oh, I believe in America, sweet land of liberty, from sea to shining sea. Thank you all so much. God bless you.
Wow. That's pretty good. That was pretty good. Very good. So our next guest is Bill Montgomery. Bill's been instrumental in forming the organization Turning Point USA. Anybody in here heard of Turning Point USA? It's focused on returning America's youth to the values on which our country was founded. He's the editor-in-chief of Freedom Fights, which is a page powered by Turning Point USA that reports on the culture war debate happening across America. Bill loves his country and is on the front lines of the culture war being waged in our nation right now. Bill Montgomery.
I'm impressed. Such a group of people, and I miss this group of people outside of Cook County. I grew up in Peoria, Illinois, and I understand and know the people in this area, and you're powerful, and you can change this state. Thank you. A couple of fun stories to tell you. In 2011, I believed in Donald Trump to be President of the United States. And I actually created a website for him to run. Of course, he didn't run, and I was sad. But it gave me faith to continue on and doing a lot of things to make the country great again. It's interesting, I had a website, I spoke to the Tea Party people about trying to get the state going in the right direction, but I was blessed when Donald Trump walked down that escalator and to run for the President of the United States, and I was behind him 100%, as were many of all of Illinois, and we're going to get him to be the President again. But I've always sort of had a knack for finding interesting and wonderful people to do things in a political manner. I was at an event at Benedictine University where the Tea Party and the Occupy Wall Street people were putting on mock demonstrations to show the difference between each of their groups. And then they had speeches by 3 people from each group. And I watched 400 high school kids who were there to learn about all this falling asleep, as was I, unfortunately. So as the 7th speaker was walking up to the podium, I looked at the clock, I said, I hope this isn't long. Turned back down, and I watched this lanky 18-year-old, 6'4", wake up that audience in 20 seconds. Never seen anything like this in my life before. So I went up to him afterwards and I said, Charlie, you don't know me, but you can't go to college. He had just graduated from high school. He was captain of his football team, captain of his basketball team. He was an Eagle Scout. He applied to go to West Point, but was turned down because at that time they wanted young ladies to be at West Point. And he was going to go to Baylor, of which he didn't go, because we started on June 5th of 2012 officially, Turning Point USA. One part of that, for 2.5 years, I traveled around the country with Charlie, because he couldn't rent a car, and he couldn't get in a hotel room because he wasn't 21. After 2.5 years, my wife said to me, well, I have my husband back. But it was a fun, wonderful experience. Today, Charlie's best personal friend is Donald Trump Jr. And he is also considered a very important person by the President of the United States. If Charlie were walking into the White House today, and he can, if he's in town, the President would welcome him into his office. He thinks highly of him. So it's exciting to see somebody doing that. And I've met a lot of people who have potential. And I won't go into all of that today, but the one thing that really intrigued me, I had heard about Mary Miller, and I said to myself, oh, I don't know anything about her. Saw her picture, attractive young person. I said to my wife, I said, how old do you think she is? And she said, oh, maybe 45 or 50. And I said, no, she looks younger than that. So Mary, I hope you like that. It's a true story. But when I met Mary, I got that sort of really strange sensation like I got with Charlie. Here is a person who can change the Congress of this country into the values that we need so much. And she exemplifies that. Guys, I'm not against you, but we need a good woman in the House of Representatives like her to change this country around. I'm going to introduce you to another very interesting character and individual, and he's not really a character. He's going to speak to you. His name is Gary Rabine, and he will be a very important person in the future of Illinois. And I won't say how, but I think when you listen to him, you'll understand. He has a voice to be heard, and he has a background, which I hope he tells you a little bit about. Because he didn't come from money. He came from hard work. And that's something that is important, and that's a value that we need in this country. So he's going to talk about a little bit about Mary and Chris and what we need to see happen in Illinois. And one thing that I'm working on as a special project, a personal project, is we've got to make Illinois red. And I believe we can do that. Thank you.
I'd now like to introduce Gary Rabine, who's he founded the first Rabine Group company as a residential paving business in 1981 in northern Illinois. What started as a personal passion would eventually grow into Rabine Paving and 9 other Rabine Group companies that specialize in exterior facilities services across the United States. Gary has always seen technology and innovation as Rabine's Group's differentiating factor. He's continued to bring his spirit of innovation and passion for technology to industries typically coined as dirty jobs. By investing in the most innovative tools, methods, and minds in our fields, he's continued to grow his business as leaders in their industries and has increased the safety, quality, and customer satisfaction of the Rabine Group companies.
Okay, I need a little patience here. I woke up this morning, I coughed all night. Woke up this morning after about an hour of sleep, I coughed all night. My wife had this little thing in her throat, and I got it a week later. Yeah. So, but I was going to call, I was going to text Mary and Chris and say I couldn't make it. But before that, I texted my buddy, say it looks like there's a 4-hour drive down here. So an hour before, I'm trying to text my buddy who's going to come down here with me and be my right hand, and my texts aren't going through. Like 2 times they didn't go through. My texts always go through my house. So it was getting a little later. I said, man, this is a message. I got to be there. Right? So my voice is a little. I usually have a very strong voice. It's not going to be so strong, but bear with me. So Chris and Mary, I don't know what they saw, why they invited me down here, but after looking into them and understanding who they are, man, they got everything it takes to lead our state and to lead our country. And I call myself a hillbilly paving guy. If you guys, in the country and even around the cities and the suburbs where I'm from, it's common that you get these little flyers in your mailbox for a seal coat job that somebody wants to do for you, or paving your driveway. I was one of those guys when I was 18 years old, back in 1981. And I was laughed at by a lot of people. I had a couple $1,000s and bought my first piece of paving equipment, and didn't look pretty. My work wasn't very pretty, but I strived to be number one. I wanted to be the best I could be as a paving guy in my town, and eventually in my county. And I said, this is working out pretty well. 10 years later, we were probably the most competitive, one of the best quality driveway companies 10 years later. So I said, man, you know what, this worked out well. How can I be the best in the state? I looked at some of the people around me, some of the better quality paving companies around, and they're doing parking lots. Well, I said, I got to start doing parking lots. So sure enough, we competed with them. I sponged off them. I became friends with many of them, and we became one of the better ones in the state of Illinois when it comes to paving parking lots. 20 years later, I'm saying, man, that worked out pretty well. How can I become the best in the country, right? So I started networking in these global and regional events, these paving expos and stuff, and found out who the best were in the country. I met a guy from Latvia who had German engineers that worked for him, doing paving in Latvia and Europe, all over Europe. Different stuff. It was concrete, it wasn't asphalt. But I learned a lot from him, became good friends with him, partnered with him, and said, man, we've got engineering now that's global, that's like world-class engineering. I said, man, this is working out pretty well. How can we be the best in the country at what we do? Well, today, there's 40,000 paving companies in the country, and today, there's nobody we can say that we can't kick the crap out, right? We can beat them with quality, we can beat them with service, we can beat them in paving any part of the country, any place in the country today. So we became a leader in our space. And it didn't happen by saying, man, you know what, let's take it easy now. We've got some good things going on. I made a couple $1 million, now I can kick back, right? That never happened. Now we took some punches and we lost a lot of money by taking risk and innovating. But we got there by hard work and a lot of innovation, a lot of bruises, a lot of scars. Those scars created strength in our organization and a culture that we think is superior. So when I think about what's going on in our businesses, I eventually got hammered by the unions in the Chicagoland area. Lost everything I had. My wife and I lost everything we had in the early 2000s. We were worth $4 or $5 million and lost it all. And we finally signed with these unions an agreement that we could actually stay in business with. After that, we said, okay, now we can work again. And we did. We started growing across the country at that point. And when growing across the country, we said, how can we be different and better? Well, gosh, we got to keep that mentality, compete to be number one and serve better than anybody else. And as I grew my company, I realized I had some people in my business that were kind of selfless. I had a bunch of them that were selfish. So I had selfless people that continued to stay with our organization, selfish people that usually weeded themselves out. So it took a while to learn, but 25 years later, 30 years later, I started learning that competing to be number one is a good thing, but you can't do it with selfishness. So when I look at these people in this room, I look at Chris, I look at Mary, I look at the Magnificent Seven. I read up about this Magnificent Seven. How about them, huh? Who's in the Magnificent Seven? These guys are awesome, right? So that's selfless. These people are selfless leaders. I don't think most of these people are taking a pension because they know it's unsustainable. I see some of these people aren't taking a paycheck. That's selflessness. They really care about turning this thing around, right? So my experience, I've turned my experiences into this thing called Ditch Digger CEO. It's a podcast I do now. So the podcast, all I do is interview people that have gone from nothing to top 1% in their industry. And so often, it's those that strive to be number one. Those that strive to work hard, knowing that tough times are going to come. Knowing that the scars that they earn are going to be proud scars, not crutches that they go forward with, right? So when I think about what I've done, I've been so blessed in my life. After that union battle, I got really involved in doing things for free enterprise because I realized there's a threat against free enterprise even back then. It was Illinois politics, corruption in Illinois. It was the unions in Illinois. And nationally, it was a socialism thing that was gaining popularity back then. So I actually had the blessings of meeting Bill, who you just met. And man, I jumped into that thing, just totally, because I loved the idea. I had kids who were in college, and I saw the messaging they were getting. And it was a great experience. So I joined this organization, became a national organization, supported them all I could, and got a lot of people behind them. That was a lot of fun. So I said, that's really cool. So I got another organization called Job Creators Network. Bernie Marcus started it, and it's totally selfless leaders, CEOs across the country that want to save our country, reduce regulation, and fight bad regulation that's out there. State, mostly federal, but also they're getting to the state level as well. So these are millionaires and billionaires, totally successful people that don't have to be doing this. They don't need to spend their money doing this, but they care about what's going on and what's going forward for their kids and grandkids. Then I joined the Republican Governors Association to learn what are these governors doing in these states, these good states, how are they fighting the craziness in their states. And boy, I learned that Texas is doing amazing things, and they've got some advantages over Illinois, right? They got part-timers as politicians there. They've got a lot of conservative culture there that we don't have. You got places like Kentucky that aren't any better than us, really. And the governor had a heck of a time, right? Still fighting the corruption and fighting the socialist mentality. So again, I learned a lot about this stuff. But here's what I believe. I believe that same culture, compete to be number one, is important in anything we do. Now, you may not get there, but you know what? If you get to number 2 or 3, or hell, if you get to 20 in our country compared to Illinois, as we all know, we're 47 to 50 in every major category that matters. 47 to 50. It's crazy, right? As mentioned earlier, highest taxation in any state over California now, right? When it comes to combined tax of all taxes, right? Highest property tax. And our property taxes aren't taxation anymore. It's theft. So, I don't know if, I didn't know this before, let's say 5, 6 years ago, until I realized how crazy it was, but the national average for real estate tax in this country is 1.2% of the value. 1.2. I'm paying over 4% in Woodstock, Illinois. My friends, I've got friends in Harvard, these outskirt areas are paying 5 and 6% of the value. That's not taxation anymore, that's theft. So again, how do we battle that, right? We battle it with selflessness, right? We battle with competing to be number one. And if we got to 20, we're not going to be losing, 100,000 people out of our state, and a heck of a lot more than that in jobs and opportunity and taxpayers. This $3.8 billion tax that we're talking about, that Pritzker's talking about, that's not going to happen. Because my friends, so I'm blessed as can be that I've got to be friends with this group of YPO leaders across the globe, they're CEOs. So in Illinois, I'm friends with many great CEOs. And when we look at, only 12, 13, 14 years ago, when I talked to these CEOs, none of them in Illinois were looking to leave. None of them said that I got to find another place to start my business. I got to move my business, right? Today, 75, 80% of them are saying, I got to get out of here or they're gone, right? So when Pritzker says that this tax is going to bring $3.8 billion, he's nuts. I'm telling you, he's nuts. Maybe the first year he'll get $3 billion, but by year 4, 5, 6, they're all gone. He's going to get, it's going to be a negative. So we got to fight that. We got to fight that in a big way, okay? We got to fight it. So when we look again, I think this way. In our state of Illinois, the state I love, I currently, my story, ditch digger CEO, you got to listen to it. It's kind of funny. I'm a hillbilly, and you'll hear that. I grew up in a crazy environment, but I loved it. A loving father and mother, that's the most important. But bottom line is, when you look at what created, right, what creates this great country, America, it's people like me and many of you in this room, right, who work your butt off to be successful. Success is whatever you want it to be, right? But you can do it here. You can't do it in every country in the world. 95% of the rest of the world want to beat us. And we're going to blow it if we don't stand up and fight it. So this is where I'm going to. I think about this a lot, and I've got some big networks of friends across the country that I've talked to. So I've got many CEOs in the state and then a bunch of them across the country. I say, hey, Illinois has been, it's the heart of the country, and yet it's been the place where cancers grow the most. The worst labor law, the worst taxation now, the most corrupt politicians come from here. It's been the worst. It's the heart of the country, and we've got this cancer that keeps growing out of it, right? So I talk to my friends that are very successful billionaires and millionaires across the country. I say, would you invest in Illinois? If we put a plan together that said it's an Illinois first plan, we're going to kick the crap out of every state in the country. We're in the middle of this great country. We're in the middle of this great country. We've got so much opportunity in great natural resources, right? We got so much opportunity when we look at natural resources, when we look at jobs, we look at schools, right? Infrastructure, come on, we've got the best rail, airports, all these things, and yet we're blowing it, right? So when I go to them and say, hey, would you invest in Illinois if we had a group of 80 or 100 state reps like these people here, right? Selfless leaders that won't take the pension, that will run on selfish interest to make their jobs temporary jobs maybe, right? But a consistent culture of what selflessness looks like, and an Illinois First agenda that says, here's the things we will do if we get control of the House, and that goofy little guy goes to, not Speaker of the House, but the minority. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice? And when you think about this, when you look at this, right now, if you look at stocks, my friends that invest in stocks look at fundamentally strong stocks that are bottomed out, right? That's where you want to invest. That's who we are right now. Fundamentally, we've got everything it takes to be the strongest state in the country and the state to invest in. But we need help. We need a vision. These leaders are visionaries, right? When they talk, you know they've got some vision. But we need 80 or 100 soldiers that we can arm with the right money outside of Illinois, inside Illinois. So we got to build. So my vision is, and a lot of these guys have been talking to me about it, and Mary's been talking to me about it, and I think they're on the right page. But we better sell this story to the country because we're losing a lot of the millionaires and billionaires that have been supporting the conservative side of the state. So and there's plenty in Chicago. I mean, I'm from Northern Illinois. I'm an hour out of Chicago. We do business with Chicago businesses and everywhere around Chicago. And there's plenty of quiet conservatives. We got to wake them up. But we can't wake them up with a message that's fragmented. We can't have people across the state running on all different messages. The Democrats are the best at this. They run with such a consistent message. It's like, okay, that's who they are, right? I don't like who they are, but man, the message is pretty doggone consistent, isn't it? So we need soldiers that we can arm with the right information and the right leaders across the country to help. So with the blessings of Turning Point USA and these other organizations I've been a part of, I learned a lot about the best economic minds of our country. And 2 out of 3 of the best economic minds of our country come from Illinois. So if you think about Art Laffer, the Laffer curve, right? You think about Larry Kudlow, and Steve Moore, who are 2 of the president's advisors today, economic advisors today, who created our tax plan and everything else, right? Those 3 people, 2 of them have come from Illinois. They both would love to see Illinois turn around. They both have told me they would help build the plan, right? I mean, we've got all the help we need in the country, but we have to have a consistent message to fight with, and it can't be fragmented. And the message that these guys have down here is pretty doggone consistent. I got to mention one more person that's here that came down here. I told him I'm coming. He said, I'll go down there too, Gary. Mark Kern's a friend of mine. He's from the Chicagoland area in Lake County, Illinois. He's got all the values, the moral compass that these people on stage have as well. Support him as senator to beat Tricky Dick. Stand up. Remember Mark Curran, and look up Mark Curran, but I'm a faith-strong guy. I love my Catholic faith. Didn't have much of it as a young person, but I gained it a lot as my wife mentored me the way she did. So I was lucky to have a great wife. Bottom line is, he's got it all. He's got the moral compass. He's a Democrat at one point, right? He understands the other side better than I do, probably. So God bless Mark for running, and God bless everybody on this stage. I really appreciate what they're doing to help save this state, and what Mary's going to do to help save this country. Thank you very much.
This is the fun part. This is where you guys get to ask them questions and they got to come up with answers on the spot, which is what they're here for. I'm going to ask the first question. I'm going to make a statement. You can take my gas-powered leaf blower from my cold, dead hands. What will they not come up with? It's in my husband's hands. Let's be real about it. So if you would like to ask a question of the representatives, there's a microphone here. There's a microphone here. You can proceed up the aisle and we will take questions. So feel free to come up and ask. And I will start with the first question because I think, for me, as a taxpayer in this state, this is the most important one. You guys get to fight over who's going to answer it. You can come up and speak on this mic, and then I'll go moderate from over there. This progressive income tax that is on the ballot in November, J.B. Pritzker says, pass it or I'll cut your educational spending. That seems pretty severe. He calls it a fair tax. Is it fair? And is there any other way to fix the problem we have in the state of Illinois? You can fight over answering it.
I'm more than happy to answer that one for sure. How many out here think that it's a good idea to give Springfield politicians more power than what they currently have? Yeah, that's what this is about. It's a power grab. It absolutely is. You know, I thought it was really enlightening. It was a couple weeks ago. The governor actually came out and said, if you guys, because everybody gets a vote on this, if you don't approve this progressive income tax, we're going to have to cut spending. I thought that was a great idea. That's the best thing that he's ever said, right? But here's the deal. Here's the deal with this progressive income tax. It's just another in the long line of Illinois politicians pushing off problems. You know, it's to escape real reform in the state of Illinois. And also, you need to know that the rates that he's put out there aren't on the ballot. They're not on the ballot. You're not voting on the tax rates that he's putting out there. He's saying we're going to soak the rich, you know. But that's not on the ballot. What's on the ballot is, do you think it's a good idea to give Springfield politicians this power? And what's the chances that in 2 or 3 years we're not going to come back in a financial crisis? You know, we're in a financial crisis. That really is, no matter what the governor says. And they're going to have to raise taxes on middle-class people. That's the end game on this deal. We need real reform that deals with our pension crisis, because it's a big portion of our budget, and you know, it deals with the excessive amount of government in the state of Illinois. Until people get serious about doing those two things, your property taxes are going to continue to increase at an alarming rate. So vote no. There's no bigger thing that we can do to send a message, and it's important that that you guys realize that as conservatives in Illinois, you don't get a voice on a lot of things, but you get a voice on this one, so you better make sure that you go out and vote no.
Maybe if I need to turn on this microphone, maybe someone can help me. Let's start down here.
Testing. I'm Cody Hare out of Casey, and I'm getting real tired of all these property taxes. Got a $200,000 house and pay $4,200. I think they've increased the value again. It's probably going to be pushing $5,000 next year. There's a gentleman that has wrote a book, his name is Ron Gibson, on bringing forward the land patents, the original land patents that the federal government granted. Because those land patents said that that land was granted forever, there's a legal argument that they cannot tax that. And it's a little bit longer explanation, but I think people need to look at finding out how to bring their land patents forward and just stop paying all these taxes, because we've been just totally taken advantage of in this state.
Okay.
And so that's something for people to look at. And then back on these unions and all the union ruining the state with, you know, the ill-gotten gains of the public service union, I guess is what I'm saying, is they said that the average state employee only works 5 months, only pays in 5 months of 20 years. Now, if you're a policeman, military, somebody, I can justify, you know, a 20-year retirement, but 20 years just being a secretary or working for the university is insane to have 90%, and that's why we're having all these problems.
So maybe the question here is that the labor unions do have a strong hold, I would say, on Illinois state politics. I think there's certainly a place for the public service that is offered to us through those employees, but the stranglehold that the union has on the way we do business as a state, what can we do to make that better?
Well, vote in conservative people, because here's the two people that do, the two groups that seem to control Springfield are the unions and trial lawyers. A lot of people overlook them, and what we've got to watch out for, and what we're seeing is we've got to work with our local units of government, because we've got two things that just recently happened, and they really affect us downstate, needy townships. You know, my township, Oskaloosa Township, operates off of a $120,000 budget, and many years ago, there was this based on your size of your, the size of the area versus the population. You got needy money. It meant you got a little bit of extra money to accommodate for what you couldn't bring in on taxes. And that money was yanked. We just discovered it was yanked. It was taken out of the budget, 1,587 pages that the people that passed it did not read. Many of them discovered it December and January. Many of your police municipalities, your police, your sheriff's departments, in January, they start sending people off to train. Guess what? They started getting bills back from these organizations, and they found that was taken out. So, the governor and the Springfield establishment, it's really simple. Raise your own property taxes back up. So that's the kind of stuff that we've got to start watching out for.
I was going to mention, my wife is from a country in South America, and yeah, they allow unions, but not public sector unions. And I think it's gotten to that point that we need to outlaw public sector unions. It's unacceptable. They're holding the taxpayers hostage. I'm all for paying somebody a fair wage, but this is ridiculous, 90%.
Thank you.
Thank you. We got about 10 minutes for questions, so we can let everybody out on time.
Let's go to the other side of the stage real quick.
My name is Ralph Rounds. I live in Watson, Illinois. 3 quick ones. Number 1, are we going to stop Illinois from being a sanctuary state?
Immigration?
Yes. Illegal aliens. They're illegal. No, if you want to come in the country the right way, then do it. That's the bottom line. My family came over from England, Germany. They did it legally.
Who would like to field that question?
You've been appointed.
Well, let me tell you, my last name is actually pronounced Gabeo, and I am Mexican, and my mother is German. And when my dad was in the military, he met my mother when he was stationed in Germany, and they were married. And my mother still went through the process of becoming a naturalized citizen. It was a very long road, but she did it. And if she can do it, so can everybody else. We don't have a problem with the immigrant part. We have a problem with the illegal part. As a law enforcement officer, number 1, I appreciate the 2 law enforcement folks here today. Thank you. We have... This state is now saying that, you know what, we're not going to work with ICE. We're just going to release these people back into the communities in which you pay everything for. Now you're going to be paying for them. Now they're going to be recommitting crimes. Some of these people are murderers. Some of these people are rapists. And they're going to your communities. And that is on J.B. Pritzker.
Sir, we'll come back to your next question. We'll just keep taking turns. Let's come to this side of the stage here, sir. You can go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. I'm James McKittrick from Marshall, Illinois, which is in Clark County. And Mary was over there, and let's see, a couple of the others a few weeks ago. My question goes ahead with the taxes, and I don't claim to know all there is, but this is at the federal level, not state, so it probably will pertain more to Mary. And this is a fair tax. I have been a component of it from day 1 that I knew about it. To my thinking, the way it does, it'll do away with poverty, and you take your whole paycheck home with you and everything, and nobody gets by without paying taxes. Like today, we have people paid under the table and one thing and another. The fair tax will eliminate all of that, will eliminate poverty because everybody gets a prebate that brings you up to the poverty level, whether it's a 2-family, 4-family home or whatever, and that would take care of that, and I think it would solve a lot of our problems. But I know that the congressmen, they don't want it because right now they can go out and campaign and I'm going to lower your taxes and I'm going to give you this and I'm going to give you that, and we're going to tax the companies and manufacturers more. And they don't seem to, any of them, understand
that any tax put on a manufacturing company or anything that sort is just part of their liability to make that product or that service, and who winds up paying it? Us consumers. So I'm just interested in what
Here's the deal. Here's the deal. The fair tax, it doesn't solve any of our problems. And under the best case scenario, it's going to bring in $3.7 billion. We're shorting our pensions by probably $5 billion every single year. So number one, under the best case scenario, it doesn't solve any problems in the state of Illinois. Outside of true reform, you're not going to solve any problems. And we've got you talk, I'll talk. We've got a $250 billion pension liability in the state of Illinois. That's $25 million a day in interest alone. That's a huge problem. You know how much our governor has said that he is going to put of that $3.7 billion into the pension system? Do you know?
Sir, no.
$100 million. $100 million on the biggest problem in the state of Illinois. The biggest problem that is driving, that is robbing our core service. You want to talk about properly funded education? You want to talk about, taking care of people that can't take care of themselves? We've got to solve the pension crisis, and this governor is embarrassingly unserious about solving any problems. The fair tax will not solve any problem in the state of Illinois.
Real quick, sir, we'll get to your next question.
Next one. Anyone that's been paying attention, especially Christian news media, has heard about situations in Oregon, Colorado, especially the Masterpiece Cake Shop, where an individual that was a Christian has spent so far thousands of their own dollars to defend their right to practice their faith in business and in private organizations. Are we going to make sure that Illinois provides that same protection?
Freedom of religion?
For freedom of religion.
Darren, you want to speak to that issue?
Yes.
Yes! Yes! That's great to hear. Let's go, sir. Your question right here. Did you want to elaborate? I mean, I'm fine with just yes, period.
That's the forefront. Proverbs 28:2 says, when there is moral rot in the nation, its government topples easily, but wise and knowledgeable leaders bring stability. I'm counting on you to elect wise and knowledgeable leaders.
Yeah.
And we will do that. We will fight for that. That's on the forefront, I promise you, every day. Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Yeah, my name's Charles Harmon. I'm from Teutopolis, Illinois. First of all, Darren, thank you for one of the politicians giving a straight answer. Thank you. Getting to our pension plan. Our pension plan, the way we need to solve this, the first thing is get a right-to-work state. We need a right-to-work state here. The next thing, Pritzker said that we can't change, the Constitution won't allow us to change the pension plan. Then he hires 3,000 some more employees, gives everybody a raise. So let's counter them with that, saying, okay, you go ahead and do that, but we're going to privatize everything. Let's get rid of our state employees, privatize everything, get rid of 50 to 70% of our state employees. Then we'll see how quick they can change this Constitution.
They can change it the same way they're changing it for the progressive income tax, am I right?
Yes.
We could have that voice.
So can we do this? Can we threaten them with, you guys get enough power together to threaten them with, we're going to privatize this. All this state work is going out to private enterprises where we don't have to worry about paying their pensions. The private enterprise would then be paying it, not us taxpayers. Can we do that?
I'd just interject, it starts with electing people like Adam to join these folks in the House, because when you're in the super minority, it gets hard to threaten about anything.
So historically, in the state of Illinois, well, it's historic nationally, when Republicans have gotten control, with the exception of one man, Donald Trump, they did nothing. Absolutely nothing. We did nothing. Had our opportunity in the early 2000s. We had another opportunity in the late 1990s. For 2 years, they did nothing. So everybody said, well, this isn't working, so let's put the Democrats back in. At least we got chaos instead of nothing going on, and they like that. But I'm head over heels in working right now with state police and DCFS, two organizations. There's a lot of problems. They need stripped down. I'm going to tell you what. Every state organization needs completely dismantled and rebuilt. It's called accountability. The state does not do that. So we have to have a Republican governor, and we have to have a majority in the House and the Senate, and we have to get to work very fast. And I am talking complete dismantling, letting people go. We'll pay whatever we have to pay. And then we put it back up, because I'm going to contend that when we put it back together, we're probably going to only need a third as many people if we hold them accountable and if they work hard to do their job. But that, we have got to have the majority to do that.
But can we get this state to be a right-to-work state? That is a big step.
We're right now, in the super minority, we are losing that battle. So, and hopefully we can turn that around if and when, but that is a very much a threat, and we are losing that. We may lose it yet this year, hopefully not.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, we'll go to your next question.
Hello, my name is Paul Anderson. I'm from Homer, Illinois. I actually have two questions. The first is for Mary Miller, if I could. If you had the opportunity, would you cut funding to the United Nations and get the United Nations out of the United States?
Definitely, and I think President Trump's on the right track. He refused to give the Paris Climate Accord, I believe it was $1.5 billion, and he has been calling out the United Nations. It's a total ripoff for us. We've been funding the whole thing. We get one vote and we're treated terribly. So definitely, I think President Trump wants to make America first. I heard him talking, and he said when he goes to other countries, he tells their leaders, I'm for America first, and you should be for your country first too. And I'm thinking to myself, have we devolved so much that we actually have to have an agenda out of our leader being for us first? So I would definitely support doing that. I just think it's gotten out of control, and yeah, it doesn't benefit us at all.
Did you have a follow-up?
This is not necessarily for you, though it is a U.S. Congress issue. I learned just recently, and I don't know that this is true, but I learned that Nancy Pelosi is going to draw 3 pensions from the U.S. House of Representatives, totaling $2.5 million per year.
Yeah. I don't know for sure, but I would believe it. And I just want to tell you that that's happening right under our noses here in Illinois. And one of the reasons we have opposition to these people running here is that they're calling out the establishment in our state that's taken advantage of the taxpayers.
Thank you all for running. God bless you.
So you want to do your final question?
This will be my last one. Friday, Effingham Daily News, I read an article that our state legislature wants to teach sexual education to kindergartners. Are we going to reclaim Illinois education where it's no more snowflake, but actual Illinois education teaching the old fundamentals, read, write, and arithmetic?
I'm going to answer this even though I'm running for Congress. Our schools should represent the values of the community, and that we should quit taking away the right of local school boards to run this, to mandate what the schools are doing and the curriculum they're using. And when I get to Washington, I would love to help eliminate the Federal Department of Education. Let's bring control back to the local communities for how we're raising our children and educating them. If we want good public schools, we'll get it when we give the control back to the communities.
All right, let's take your question. Okay, I want to make a statement first. I'm a first-generation American. Thank you guys, very nice. I come from Romania. I'm still very loyal to Romania, but I also love the U.S. And I hope this is okay, because it's not a financial question. It's a question about the media, like CNN, MSNBC.
Not 97.1.
Yeah. What can be done about the lying snake media? That's an AFRism. Y'all check out AFR. I'm serious, it's good. American Family Radio.
That is a very, very good question. And as a millennial, I went to college during the
Wait, are you saying there are 3 millennials?
Yes, there's 3 millennials
up here right now?
When I was in college, Barack Obama was running for office, and the mainstream media was pushing him. My liberal professors were pushing him. As an extracurricular activity in college, I had to watch Outfoxed. I barely made it through it.
Same.
I barely made it through it. It was hard. I'm watching Al Franken just for Fox News. I'm going, boy, this is ridiculous. But I made it through it. So the key to this is education. The key to this is getting out and educating people and saying, listen, MSNBC, they have it wrong. CNN,
Yes.
it's fake news.
It's communist news
It is,
network.
absolutely.
It's run by the leftists, and communists destroyed my country
That's
long
right.
ago. And
That's
I don't
right.
want to see it come here.
And there's so many young people out there that haven't read a book, that don't understand socialism and what it actually does. You need to educate yourself, educate your children. Education is key, because I promise you, whenever they get to that university, if we don't lay that bedrock conservative education, those professors will fill their brains with garbage.
Exactly.
Garbage, plain and simple. And then it'll be so hard to get your kids back to where they need to be, to get that principle of conservative Republican values back into their mind, because those professors, they have a tremendous amount of influence on our children in their universities. So thank you for that question. It's education is key. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great response as well. Let's get to the next question.
Hi, I'm Stacey Austin from Brownstown, and I'm thankful to hear that you are fighting for tax reforms and for our Second Amendment rights, but I'm with Justice Barberis. I don't like to be told what to do with my kids, especially when it's coming from the government. So with bills coming up like SB 3668, removing medical exemptions for immunizations, HB 4870, mandating the HP vaccine, I want to ask, how will you stand up for not only our religious freedoms, but our medical freedoms as well?
Is there a representative that would like to answer that question? Chris?
Well, for those of you who don't know, me and my colleagues that are in the House right now, we sit in the no row, and we vote no on all these things that are intrusive to the rights of the parents. We think that the parents should be the best ones in a position to make their health care decisions for their families, and we will do our best to fight that and keep it that way. Thank you.
Final question, sir. Go ahead.
Final question. My favorite congressmen, so this is for Mary, congressmen and congresswomen, are Jim Jordan, Mark Meadows, Matt Gaetz, Debbie Lesko, and of course the ever-present Louis Gohmert. They all have something in common. They caucus with the Freedom Caucus. So when you get to Washington, and I expect to see you there, will you caucus with the Freedom Caucus? And before you answer, I'm going to throw it to the rest of you. The Magnificent Seven is a great name, but most people are going to think cowboy movie. So what I would recommend is the Freedom Caucus of Illinois. Another thing is, compromise is capitulation. Compromise is capitulation. And then a third thing, Cal McCarter came up with a budget. The Republican Party, like fools, ignored it, disregarded it, did nothing, and let Madigan and company run their budget down our throat. And then we had a local congressman, or rep, and a local state senator capitulate and vote with Madigan. I felt betrayed. It's ridiculous. Freedom Caucus of Illinois, here's what I expect of you guys, the 7 of you. I expect you to stick together. I expect you to put together a budget, and I love you to death for saying no. I would rather have Rauner saying no with a government that doesn't accomplish anything.
than have J.B. Pritzker putting his trash and garbage down our throats.
Pay attention to the news maybe Wednesday. You're going to hear a lot from the 7 up here. You're going to hear a lot of our ideas because we cannot any longer just say no. We have to offer solutions to those problems. And I think you're going to see that. And you know, maybe there's a few different names that we can call it. But I am proud to be a GOP Republican. And that means God's own party Republican.
Where's Susan? She was passing around.
Susan. Where, anybody, any Susans?
So she had the clipboards. Susan Petty. Is she? I was going to give away a flag. Will somebody catch Susan? But she's got the clipboard with all the names on it.
Well, maybe while we look and find that, I want to ask one last question before we get to wrapping up here. Any of you, we could do a raise of hands. I haven't heard anybody talking about corruption today. We're hearing stories. We got a new governor out of jail. That's exciting. Yeah, somebody is moving back to Illinois. Listen to that. That's a great one. Yeah. What is going on with the subpoenas that we see that are always just inching a little closer to the speaker? The people in the Chicago area, the aldermen who are facing this type of corruption. Is there any hope for the Illinois taxpayer, no matter where they go, that some of this corruption is going to surface into some hope for Illinois?
Yeah, state legislators, I mean, we're on the outside looking in on a lot of that as well as far as what's going on with the investigations. But one thing I think we can say for sure is God bless the federal government on this one. God bless the Trump Justice Department for finally dropping the hammer on the state of Illinois. This has been a long time coming. We'll see where it goes. I mean, there's some stuff that's already came out, but one thing is very clear: we need strong anti-corruption measures in Springfield, and that is a key part of the platform that we're continuing to push. Because, like I said earlier, we got to restore credibility in government. So we'll see where it takes us.
Thank you. Are we giving away the flag right now? We've got some things to throw out here. Are you doing the flag? Okay, Darren, you had something you wanted to take care of here?
Yeah. Who's the oldest veteran we got in here? The person serving who is the oldest that has served. Got any veterans here over 60, 70 years old?
83.
83? Do we beat 83?
94! World War II, everybody. Can we stand up and give this man a thank you?
Who in the crowd has served the longest? What do we got out there? How many years have you served? 16. 24. Anybody else? Anybody served longer than 24 years? All right.
Thank you, sir.
Tell us, what did you do? What branch did you serve in? Air Force. Thank you so much. God bless you. This may be a given, but I've been to Tinka, Romania, so served on the mission field there for a little bit. That was awesome. Who is the newest what am I trying to say here? Citizen. So when did you become a citizen? So how many years? How old are you now? Okay, so 20 years. Anybody been a citizen less than 20 years? How many? Oh, wow. From what? From where? Canada. Thank you. Anybody? That's going to be hard to beat. Anybody less than that? I'm going to give you a shirt here. If it's the wrong size, get your size out there. Thank you. And finally, who drove the furthest? How many miles? 282. Anybody beat that? Thank you guys for being here today. Okay, from one law enforcement officer to the other, who has served the longest as a law enforcement officer out there? Law enforcement. Okay, anybody who served as a sheriff, police, law enforcement, security, stand up, please. Do we have any out here? Okay, so how many years have you served in law enforcement? 27. Did we beat 27? Anybody? 27 got it? Thank you so much for your service.
All right. Is everybody signed in? Everybody here? Okay. I have a pen. You can get this pen inscribed. I got this pen inscribed with a Make America Great, Trump 2020. You can get these pens inscribed with Senator Bailey. But if you can also get these pens inscribed with Bernie Sanders. But
Are they free?
But remember, you only get half the pen because the other half goes to somebody else. The Bernie Sanders pen. I want to give away a flag today. I have an American flag. Was flown over the state capitals, tested to by Jesse White. So I want to give this to someone. But it's over our state capitol, it's an American flag. So we have people that have signed in here, and I'm going to just pick somebody out of this mess. If you didn't sign in, you missed an opportunity to get a flag today. And here's some more over here. All right, so we have several people that have signed in. I'm not going to do Linda Hubbard. That's not going to work. Who is Kelly Williamson from Oakland? Is Kelly Williamson from Oakland here? Kylie, K-Y-L-E-Y. Sorry about that. Is Kylie here? Oh, Kylie doesn't get a flag. Not here. Must be present to win. Where is she? She's working. Oh, Kylie. I'm Kelly. All right. Will you do this for me then? Will you give her a flag? Somebody? All right. Let me off the hook. Kylie, turning point. Can he vote? Oh, is he going to vote for you? Okay. Well, thank you all very much for being here.
I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. Please, before you get up, we're going to pray. We're going to have Darren close us here in prayer. But just remember that as important as all these individuals are on the stage, that you're the most important person right now in this room. And if this state is going to be saved, it's going to be because action comes from you through them. So please consider doing what you can to continue to be active, and showing up here is a really, really great way to have done that. If you want to learn more about me, I'm on 97.1 FM Talk in St. Louis. I have a podcast, so if you podcast, you can search The Annie Fry Show, and we talk a lot about these important issues as well, and I can always inform you of the next event that is going to be coming up that you can participate. So thank you very much for being here. Darren? Brad, you're, okay, I got the bad intel.
I'm Darren Stunt-Double.
Okay, yeah. Make the stunts look good?
Isn't Annie great? Just give her a warm hand. Yeah. Yeah, this is great. Thank you, Andy. Hey, I just want to say as we close this out, I appreciate you guys taking off a really beautiful beautiful Sunday afternoon to be here with us, to hear us, and to get behind us. I want to thank my wife, Linda. I want to thank my mom and dad and Carolyn down in front. I want to thank all these guys and gals. Their families are all involved in this stuff. It takes the support of our spouses and families, and I just want to openly, publicly acknowledge the support that we get from our families, our spouses, our kids, our parents, cousins, siblings, letters. Let's give our families a word. Let's stand as we dismiss in prayer, and please visit our folks out, all of us out in front as you leave, and I just pray for a safe trip home for all of us. Let's pray. Almighty God, we've asked you to come into this place tonight, this afternoon, and you've done that, God. We ask you to come and be with us, give us the words to say that will benefit our people, and Lord, we just pray for our capital in Springfield. We pray for our leaders. We pray for our nation's leader and President Trump. We pray for these leaders' families and their support people, God. We just pray that you will just pour out blessings on them, God. And Lord, we just pray, Lord, that if it need be, that the purging of the evildoers will start to happen, and it has happening, that you will purge our nation's capital and our state's capital of the evildoers, God. And Lord, we just thank you for each individual that's up on the platform with me today, and for their families and for the constituents they represent. Lord, I pray that you'll just bless their efforts, bless their campaigns. And I just pray for each one that came out today to be here, God, that you will just continue to bless these families, that they will go back into their homes and their churches and their works, their places of business where they work, and that the words that they've heard today will continue to flow out. Lord, we can change this country, but we need you in the forefront. We need you in the middle of all the details. We need you in the middle of all of our plans, God. And Lord, help us not to get ourselves in the way, but to seek you first, God, and to seek your kingdom, God, that you will lead us through these troubling times in this state, God. Lord, again, we thank you for this afternoon. We thank you for the way you bless us and help us lead us throughout the rest of the afternoon. In Jesus' name, amen.